March 7th, 1945. Ludendorff Bridge, Remagen, Germany. 3:42 p.m. The explosion finally comes. A deafening blast tears through the steel structure, stretching across the Rhine River. Flames leap into the air. Smoke engulfs the bridge. German engineers wait. American soldiers freeze in place. Everyone expects the same thing. The bridge should collapse. Thousands of tons of steel should plunge into the icy Rhine below. The river should become an impassable barrier. That was the plan. That was Hitler's direct order. Destroy every bridge across the Rhine. Leave nothing for the Allies. But then, the smoke begins to clear. The steel arches slowly emerge. Still standing. Bent. Damaged. Burning. But standing. For a few unbelievable seconds. Both armies simply stare. No one moves. No one fires. Because nobody can believe what they're seeing. You can almost feel the disbelief spreading across both sides of the river. German officers look through binoculars. American tank commanders stop their engines. The bridge has survived. Somehow, against every expectation, it has survived. Brigadier General William Hoagie, commander of Combat Command B, receives the report over the radio. The bridge is still there, sir. He pauses. Certain he heard it incorrectly. What did you say? The bridge is still standing. Hoage wastes no time. He knows opportunities like this rarely appear twice. If the Germans recover, they'll destroy it properly. If they hesitate, the Allies might cross the Rhine before anyone imagined possible. The race begins instantly. American armor accelerates toward Remagen. Infantry climbs aboard half-tracks. Engineers prepare demolition equipment. Everyone understands the stakes. Because the Rhine isn't just another river. For centuries, it has been Germany's greatest natural defensive barrier. Wide, fast, cold. Military planners expected it to cost thousands of Allied lives to cross. Weeks of preparation. Massive engineering operations. Endless artillery bombardments. Instead, one bridge still stands. One unexpected chance. One moment that could change the entire campaign. Meanwhile, on the eastern bank, German officers are panicking. Major Hans Scheller, responsible for defending Remagen, cannot believe the bridge survived. The demolition charges should have destroyed everything. Engineers rush back toward the structure. More explosives. More detonators. Anything to finish the job before the Americans arrive. Time is disappearing. Every minute matters now. The bridge has become the most valuable piece of real estate in Europe. American artillery begins striking German positions overlooking the river. Shells crash into defensive bunkers. Machine gun nests disappear beneath smoke. The attack isn't waiting. Lieutenant Karl Timmermann, commanding Company A of the 27th Armored Infantry Battalion, receives his orders. Take the bridge. Nothing more. Nothing less. Timmermann looks ahead. Nearly 1,000 feet of exposed steel. No cover. German machine guns waiting on the far side. Demolition charges still attached beneath the bridge. Every instinct tells him this is impossible. Every military textbook says not to assault an intact bridge defended by prepared enemy positions. Yet the opportunity is too valuable to ignore. You can almost hear the pounding of boots as American infantry begins moving forward. The bridge vibrates beneath artillery impacts. Smoke drifts across the river. German engineers desperately work beneath the roadway. American machine gunners return fire continuously. The entire battle now revolves around one single structure. Not a city, not a mountain, One bridge. Because whoever controls it, controls the road into Germany itself. Then, another explosion echoes beneath the steel deck. German engineers have ignited additional charges. American soldiers instinctively duck. The bridge shakes violently. Steel groans. Concrete falls into the river below. For one terrifying moment, it appears the structure is finally giving way. But once again, it refuses to collapse. Damaged, scarred, barely holding together, yet still standing. The American assault no longer has a choice. If they hesitate, the next explosion may succeed. If they charge, they'll have to run directly into enemy fire. Within seconds, Lieutenant Timmerman gives the order. Move! Hundreds of American soldiers sprint onto the burning bridge, not knowing whether it will still exist by the time they reach the other side. March 7th, 1945. Ludendorff Bridge, Remagen. 3:49 p.m. Lieutenant Karl Timmerman doesn't hesitate. He raises his arm. Forward. The first American soldiers burst from cover. Boots pound against the steel deck. The bridge echoes beneath them. Every man knows the same terrifying possibility. The next step could be his last, not because of enemy bullets, because the bridge itself might collapse beneath his feet. You can almost hear the hollow sound of steel vibrating under hundreds of running soldiers. Ahead, the eastern bank disappears behind smoke. German machine guns suddenly erupt. Bright flashes tear through the haze. Bullets slam into the bridge. Steel sparks fly in every direction. The Americans dive behind massive support beams whenever they can. But there is very little cover. Most of the crossing is completely exposed. Private Joseph Delezio throws himself flat as machine gun rounds whistle only inches overhead. Fragments of concrete rain onto the roadway. Another explosion rocks the bridge. The steel structure shudders violently. Several soldiers instinctively stop running. For a terrifying second, everyone thinks the bridge is finally collapsing. It doesn't. The old German railway bridge groans loudly, but remains standing. Lieutenant Timmerman waves his men forward again. Keep moving. There is no time to think. No time to hesitate. Every second gives German engineers another chance to destroy the bridge. Behind the infantry, American tanks wait helplessly on the western bank. They cannot cross until the far side is secured. Everything depends on the men running across first. Meanwhile, beneath the bridge, German demolition engineer Captain Willy Brach watches in disbelief. The first demolition attempt should have destroyed everything. Instead, the bridge still spans the Rhine. The explosives had been weakened. Weeks of Allied bombing had damaged wiring. Some demolition charges had been replaced with lower-grade explosives because proper military explosives were no longer available. Germany is running out of everything. Fuel, steel, explosives, time. Brach knows another opportunity may never come. He orders his engineers toward the remaining charges. Someone must finish the job, no matter the cost. Back on the bridge, American infantry pushes relentlessly forward. Smoke limits visibility to only a few yards. German riflemen fire from railway tunnels beyond the eastern entrance. Snipers hide inside damaged buildings overlooking the river. Every step forward is contested. You can almost feel the fear each soldier carries. Not panic. Acceptance. Every man understands exactly how dangerous this mission is. Yet no one turns back. Sergeant Alexander Drabik reaches the far end first. Without stopping, he leaps from the bridge onto the eastern bank, immediately opening fire. Other Americans follow. Within moments, the first firefight erupts inside the German defensive positions. Grenades explode. Machine guns hammer continuously. German defenders fight desperately. They know exactly what's at stake. If the Americans secure this bridge, the Rhine is no longer an obstacle. It becomes a highway. Lieutenant Timmerman reaches the eastern side shortly afterward. His company immediately begins clearing bunkers one by one. German soldiers surrender. Others continue resisting. The battle spreads through the railway station surrounding the bridge. Room by room, trench by trench. Every minute more American troops pour across the bridge. Then someone spots something beneath the steel framework. More demolition charges. Still connected. Still armed. Combat engineers race forward immediately. Bullets continue striking the bridge as they crawl beneath the roadway. Wire cutters in hand. One wrong movement. One spark. One delayed fuse could send the entire structure crashing into the Rhine. The engineers work silently, carefully. Sweat mixes with dust despite the cold March air. Finally, one wire falls, then another, then another. The remaining demolition system is dead. The bridge is safe. At least, safe enough. Cheers spread briefly across the American lines, but the celebration doesn't last. Because the Germans aren't finished. Far from it. High above the Rhine, Luftwaffe aircraft are already being scrambled. Artillery batteries receive new coordinates. Orders arrive directly from higher headquarters. The bridge must be destroyed, at any cost. Because Adolf Hitler has just learned that an intact bridge still exists across the Rhine. And his reaction will unleash one of the most desperate counterattacks of the entire war. March 7th, 1945. Führer headquarters. 8:35 p.m. The message reaches Berlin in complete disbelief. An American bridgehead has been established across the Rhine. The officer reading the report hesitates. He reads it again. Surely there has been a mistake. Every bridge across the Rhine was supposed to be destroyed. That had been Adolf Hitler's direct order. No exceptions. No delays. No excuses. Yet one bridge still stands. And now, American soldiers are pouring across it. Inside the command bunker, silence hangs over the room. Maps cover the walls. Red and blue pins mark a front line collapsing faster with each passing day. Then Hitler enters. His face is exhausted. His uniform hangs loosely after months of relentless pressure. Germany is fighting on every front. The Soviet army is closing in from the east. The Western Allies are pushing toward the Rhine. Resources are disappearing. Fuel is nearly gone. Experienced troops have become scarce. Now comes another disaster. The report is handed to him. He reads only a few lines before his expression hardens. The bridge still exists. The room remains completely silent. Every officer knows what follows. Hitler slams the report onto the table. Destroy it. His voice cuts through the bunker. Immediately. There is no discussion, no debate. Only orders. The bridge must disappear. No matter the cost. You can almost feel the desperation behind the command. The Rhine was Germany's final great natural barrier. If the Allies crossed it in force, the road into central Germany would lie open. That possibility is now becoming reality. Within minutes, orders race across military telephone lines. Every available artillery battery near Remagen receives new firing coordinates. Heavy railway guns begin preparing ammunition. Engineers search desperately for additional demolition teams. The Luftwaffe, already weakened after years of war, is ordered to launch immediate attacks. Pilots barely have enough fuel. Aircraft are in poor condition. Many experienced airmen are already dead. Still, they take off, because stopping the Americans has become the highest priority. Meanwhile, on the eastern bank of the Rhine, American engineers never stop working. Captain Carl H. Monson kneels beneath the bridge, a flashlight clenched between his teeth. The steel structure groans constantly above him. Every passing vehicle causes the bridge to tremble. Pieces of concrete continue falling into the river. The demolition charges have been disabled. But the bridge itself has suffered enormous damage. If it collapses now, thousands of soldiers already across the river will be isolated. Monson studies every damaged support beam carefully. His engineers begin reinforcing weak sections with timber and steel braces. They work without rest, because they know something the German commanders also know. The bridge doesn't have to be blown apart. It simply has to fail. The first German artillery shells arrive shortly before midnight. Massive explosions erupt around the bridgehead. Shells crash into nearby buildings. Fragments tear across the riverbank. American anti-aircraft crews watch the dark sky nervously. The air attack is coming. Not if. When. Hours later, the sound finally appears. Aircraft engines. Faint at first, then growing louder. German bombers emerge through the clouds. Their target is obvious. The bridge. Searchlights sweep across the night sky. Anti-aircraft guns explode into action. Bright tracer rounds climb toward the aircraft. Bombs begin falling. The first splash misses by hundreds of feet. The second lands dangerously close. A towering column of water erupts beside the bridge. The steel framework shakes violently. American soldiers instinctively look upward. Another bomber dives. Another bomb falls. Again, it misses. The old bridge survives. Night after night, the attacks continue. Bombers, fighter aircraft, heavy artillery, even experimental weapons are brought forward. Nothing is held back. The Germans know they are running out of time. Every hour the bridge remains standing. More Allied soldiers cross. More tanks arrive. More artillery pieces reach the eastern bank. Within 48 hours, more than 8,000 American troops have crossed the Rhine. Then 12,000. Then 20,000. The bridgehead grows larger every hour. You can almost sense the momentum shifting. What began as one daring assault has become an unstoppable flow of men and machines. A single failed demolition has changed the rhythm of the entire campaign. Yet the greatest danger isn't over. Because despite surviving bombs, despite surviving artillery, despite surviving Hitler's direct orders, the Ludendorff Bridge has suffered damage no engineer can completely repair. The steel is twisting. Support beams are cracking. Every heavy vehicle crossing pushes the structure closer to its limit. And within just 10 days, the bridge that refused to fall to the enemy will face its greatest threat from something no army can stop. Its own exhaustion. March 17, 1945. Ludendorff Bridge, Remagen, 3:58 p.m. The bridge begins to groan, not from bombs, not from artillery, from exhaustion. For 10 straight days, it has carried far more weight than its designers ever imagined. Thousands of American soldiers, hundreds of tanks, heavy trucks, artillery batteries, fuel convoys, ambulances. The constant movement never stops. Day, night, day again. The Ludendorff Bridge has become the busiest military crossing in Europe. You can almost feel the steel straining beneath every passing vehicle. Every rivet, every support beam, every cracked section damaged during the fighting. American engineers inspect the structure around the clock. Captain Carl H. Monson walks slowly beneath the bridge carrying a flashlight. He stops beside one of the main support members. A new crack, longer than yesterday. Another engineer measures it carefully. The numbers aren't encouraging. The bridge is moving. Not much, but enough. Steel doesn't lie. Monson immediately orders additional reinforcements. Timber supports are installed. Steel plates are welded into place. Temporary braces are tightened. Nothing about the repairs is permanent. They don't have time for permanent. They only need the bridge to survive a little longer, because every extra hour means hundreds more Allied troops reaching the eastern bank. Nearby, combat engineers begin constructing pontoon bridges. Floating bridges stretch slowly across the Rhine. Engineers know the truth. Sooner or later, the Ludendorff Bridge will fail. The question isn't if, it's when. Meanwhile, German attacks continue relentlessly. Every night brings more artillery. Every morning brings more aircraft. Jet-powered Messerschmitt Me 262 fighters streak across the sky. Conventional bombers follow. Even long-range rockets and heavy mortars are used in desperate attempts to destroy the crossing. Yet somehow, the bridge continues standing, scarred, twisted, barely alive, but still serving its purpose. Thousands more soldiers cross safely. American armor pours into the bridgehead. Supply trucks stretch for miles. The foothold east of the Rhine grows stronger with every passing hour. Inside German headquarters, the situation becomes impossible to reverse. The bridgehead is now too large. Even if the bridge disappears, the Americans are already across. The opportunity has been lost. You can almost sense history changing direction. A single surviving bridge has accelerated the Allied advance deep into Germany. Entire operations that might have taken weeks are now unfolding in days. Then, at exactly 3 p.m., everything changes. A deep metallic sound echoes through the structure. Not an explosion. A fracture. Engineers stop what they're doing. They know that sound. It means a major support member has failed. Captain Monson immediately shouts an order. Everyone off the bridge. Soldiers begin running. Engineers wave desperately at vehicles approaching the entrance. Drivers slam on their brakes. Some men sprint toward the riverbanks. Others are still beneath the bridge removing equipment. Then, the impossible finally happens. The massive steel structure begins folding inward. Slowly at first. Almost gracefully, then faster. Steel arches twist. Concrete cracks. The roadway buckles. With a deafening roar, the Ludendorff Bridge collapses into the icy Rhine River. A gigantic cloud of water and steel erupts into the air. The sound echoes across the valley. American soldiers stand silently along both banks, watching the bridge disappear beneath the current. For a brief moment, no one speaks. The bridge that had survived Hitler's orders, German bombs, artillery, and demolition charges, has finally surrendered. Not to the enemy, to time. The collapse is tragic. Several American engineers working on the structure are killed. Many others are injured. Their mission had been to keep the bridge alive just a little longer. Long enough for history enthusiasts. You are part of something special here. Thank you for watching. And they succeeded. Because by the time the bridge collapsed, it had already completed its mission. More than 25,000 Allied soldiers, along with hundreds of vehicles and vast quantities of equipment, had crossed into Germany. The bridge itself was gone, but the bridgehead remained. The road into the heart of Germany was now permanently open. Within weeks, the Third Reich would begin its final collapse. And decades later, historians would still ask the same question. What if that first demolition charge had worked? The answer may never be known, but one thing is certain. The bridge Hitler ordered destroyed survived long enough to change the final chapter of World War II, March 18, 1945. Remagen, Germany. 7:14 a.m. The river is calm again. Where the Ludendorff Bridge once stood, only twisted steel rises above the cold waters of the Rhine. Smoke still drifts across the shoreline. Broken girders rest beneath the current. The bridge is gone, but something far more important remains. The bridgehead. American soldiers continue moving east. Not across the old railway bridge. Across newly constructed pontoon bridges built by combat engineers. Within hours of the collapse, traffic resumes. Trucks, tanks, artillery, medical convoys. The advance never stops. You can almost feel the momentum that has become impossible to reverse. Germany's final defensive barrier has been broken, not by months of planning, not by an enormous amphibious assault, but by one unexpected opportunity, an opportunity that lasted only 10 days, yet changed the final weeks of the war forever. Across Germany, news of the Remagen crossing spreads rapidly. German commanders struggle to understand how it happened. Every bridge across the Rhine had been ordered destroyed. Every demolition team had received clear instructions. Yet one bridge remained standing. One bridge was enough. Inside Hitler's headquarters, anger turns into punishment. Officers responsible for the failed demolition are accused of incompetence and cowardice. Several German officers connected to the bridge's defense are sentenced by military courts. Some are executed, not because they refused to fight, but because the bridge survived. The decision reflects the desperation gripping Germany during the final weeks of the war. Reality is no longer changing fast enough. So blame becomes easier than solutions. Meanwhile, General Dwight D. Eisenhower receives detailed reports from Remagen. The unexpected crossing has exceeded every expectation. Engineers immediately begin expanding the bridgehead. Additional bridges are constructed across the Rhine. Entire armoured divisions pour into central Germany. The Allied advance accelerates dramatically. Cities that might have required prolonged battles are bypassed or surrounded. German defensive plans begin collapsing one after another. The Rhine, once considered nearly impossible to cross under fire, has lost its strategic value. You can almost imagine the frustration inside German headquarters. Years of military planning centered around the Rhine. Centuries of history viewed it as Germany's greatest natural shield. Yet history often changes because of moments no one predicts. A damaged bridge, a failed demolition, a lieutenant who chose to attack immediately, combat engineers willing to crawl beneath live explosives. Each decision alone seems small. Together, they reshape an entire campaign. Historians would later debate exactly how much Remagen shortened the war. Some argued days. Others believed weeks. While the exact number remains impossible to prove, one conclusion appears again and again. The capture of the Ludendorff Bridge forced German commanders to react rather than plan. It disrupted defensive preparations. It accelerated Allied operations east of the Rhine. And it demonstrated something every military commander understands. Sometimes, speed is more valuable than strength. Today, The bridge itself no longer exists. Only its stone towers remain on both sides of the Rhine, silent reminders of one extraordinary week in March 1945. Visitors walk through the old towers every year. Photographs line museum walls. Twisted pieces of steel have been preserved. Maps still show the crossing. Veterans described it as one of the most dangerous moments of their lives. Historians remember it as one of the greatest opportunities ever seized during World War II. Not because the bridge was indestructible. It wasn't. Not because the Germans failed to attack it. They attacked it relentlessly, but because it survived, just long enough for thousands of Allied soldiers to cross, long enough for engineers to build new bridges, long enough to change the pace of the final Allied offensive, long enough to become one of the most famous bridges in military history. Perhaps that is why the story of Remagen still captures attention nearly 80 years later. It reminds us that history isn't always shaped by massive armies or perfect plans. Sometimes, history turns because one bridge refuses to fall, and for 10 remarkable days, the bridge Adolf Hitler ordered destroyed stood between two armies and quietly helped bring World War II in Europe closer to its end.